feeling tired more often than you used to, experiencing aches and pains that just weren't there a decade or two ago, finding that your digestion isn't quite as smooth as it once was. It's easy to just shrug these things off and say, well, that's just getting older, isn't it? But what if I told you that some of the things we eat regularly, things we might have enjoyed for years, could actually be making these issues worse? What if certain everyday foods are slowly, subtly, impacting your energy, your joints, your heart, and even your memory as you age? It's a tough thought, isn't it? That the very comfort foods we turn to might be undermining our health goals. But the truth is, as our bodies change after 65, the way we process certain nutrients, or rather, the negative compounds in certain foods, changes too. What was okay in our 30s or 40s might become a burden on our system now. It's not about blame. It's about understanding and making little tweaks that can make a world of difference. In this video, we're going to gently uncover 4 specific types of meat that, while maybe delicious, could be worth rethinking as part of your regular diet after 65. Making informed choices about these could be a key step towards feeling more vibrant, having more energy, and simply enjoying life more fully. You might be surprised by what we discuss. So make sure you stay with me right to the very end for something that could really shift your perspective. So, let's ease into this by talking about the first type of meat that often pops up in our daily meals, sometimes without us even thinking much about it. I'm talking about processed meats. Think about your breakfast sausage, your bacon, the ham or turkey slices in your sandwich, hot dogs at a barbecue, or even that occasional slice of bologna. These are convenient, they taste familiar, and they've been a staple in many diets for years. But here's the gentle truth as we get older. The things that make these meats convenient and tasty, like curing, smoking, salting, or adding preservatives, become more of a concern for our health. Let's break it down simply. Processed meats are often loaded with sodium. Now, a little salt is fine, but the amount found in processed meats can be really high. For someone over 65, managing blood pressure is often a key health goal, and high sodium intake is a major contributor to high blood pressure. High blood pressure puts a strain on your heart and blood vessels, increasing the risk of heart disease and stroke, things we are naturally more susceptible to as we age. It's like asking your body to constantly work harder than it needs to. Imagine trying to push a heavy trolley uphill all day compared to pushing it on a flat path. That's a bit like the difference high blood pressure makes to your heart. Then there are the nitrates and nitrites. These are added to processed meats to preserve them, give them that nice pink color, and prevent the growth of bacteria. While they serve a purpose in food safety, when heated, especially at high temperatures like frying bacon or grilling sausages, these chemicals can form compounds called nitrosamines in your body. Studies have linked high consumption of processed meats containing these compounds to increased risk of certain types of cancer, particularly colorectal cancer. Our body's ability to handle and eliminate these potentially harmful substances might not be as robust as it was when we were younger, making us potentially more vulnerable to their effects over time. It's not about a single slice of ham causing harm, but the cumulative effect of eating these meats regularly over years. Let's also consider the type of fat often found in these meats. Bacon, sausages, many deli meats. They are frequently high in saturated fats. We've heard about saturated fat for years, and while the science is always evolving, it's generally agreed that a diet very high in saturated fat can raise cholesterol levels. High cholesterol contributes to the buildup of plaque in your arteries, narrowing them and making it harder for blood to flow. Again, this is a major risk factor for heart attack and stroke, as our arteries naturally stiffen slightly with age. Adding this extra burden of plaque buildup is something we really want to avoid. So, what can we do? It's not about saying goodbye forever to bacon if you absolutely love it on a special occasion. It's about looking at how often these meats appear on your plate. Are they a daily feature? A few times a week? Could you swap them out sometimes? For breakfast, instead of sausage or bacon every day? How about some scrambled eggs with spinach and mushrooms? Or oatmeal with berries and nuts? Or Greek yogurt with fruit for sandwiches? Instead of processed deli slices, could you use leftover cooked chicken or turkey breast? Or maybe mashed chickpeas or avocado? It takes a little planning, perhaps, but the benefits to your blood pressure, your heart, and your overall well-being can be significant. Even just reducing from daily to a couple of times a week is a fantastic step. Look for lower sodium options if you do buy them, and check the ingredient list for nitrates if possible. Though focusing on reducing consumption overall is likely more impactful. It's about making conscious choices most of the time. It's about giving your body a break from that extra sodium and those specific compounds that become harder for it to manage effectively as the years go by. Think of it as freeing up your body's resources to deal with everything else it needs to do to keep you active and feeling well. Okay, so that's the processed stuff. The meats that often come ready to eat or require just a quick cook. Now, let's talk about something else many of us enjoy and have grown up eating, but maybe needs a slightly different approach as we get older, and that's red meat, specifically the fattier cuts. We're talking about things like a well-marbled steak, lamb chops with visible fat, or ground beef that's higher in fat content used for burgers or meatballs. Red meat is a good source of iron and protein, which are important nutrients at any age, including after 65. The challenge with some red meats, particularly the fattier ones, circles back to something we touched on with processed meats, saturated fat, and cholesterol. As we age, our metabolism can slow down a bit, and our bodies might not handle dietary fat in quite the same way they used to. That high amount of saturated fat in fattier cuts of red meat can contribute to those rising cholesterol levels we talked about earlier, increasing the risk of heart disease. It can also contribute to inflammation in the body, which is linked to all sorts of age-related issues, from joint pain to cognitive decline. It's not that lean red meat in moderation is inherently bad. It's about the amount and the type. Regularly eating large portions of fatty cuts puts an unnecessary strain on your system. Think about it like this. Your arteries are like pipes. Cholesterol and fat can start to build up on the inside walls, making the pipes narrower and less flexible. Over time, this makes it harder for blood to flow freely, meaning less oxygen and nutrients get to your organs, including your heart and brain. For someone over 65 whose circulation might not be as vigorous as it once was anyway, this narrowing can have more significant consequences. But this absolutely doesn't mean you have to give up red meat entirely if you enjoy it. The key here is moderation and making smarter choices. First, think about frequency. Instead of having red meat several times a week, perhaps aim for once or twice. Second, focus on leaner cuts. Look for sirloin, round, or flank steak, and trim any visible fat before cooking. When buying ground beef, choose options that are 90% lean or higher. These cuts still provide that valuable protein and iron, but with significantly less saturated fat. Third, consider portion size. A serving of meat should be roughly the size of a deck of cards, maybe 3 to 4 ounces cooked. Are you regularly eating larger portions than that? Simply reducing the amount on your plate can make a big difference. And fourth, think about how you prepare it. Grilling, baking, or stir-frying with minimal healthy oil are better options than frying. Slow-cooking leaner cuts can make them wonderfully tender. So, instead of a large, fatty steak, maybe have a smaller portion of lean steak with plenty of roasted vegetables and a baked potato. Or make meatballs with extra lean ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, egg, and herbs. Then bake them instead of frying. Swap out a beef burger for a turkey burger or a plant-based patty occasionally. It's about finding a balance that allows you to enjoy food while still supporting your health goals. It's about being a bit more strategic with how we incorporate red meat into our diet as we get older, choosing quality over quantity and leaning towards the leaner options more often. Moving on from red meat, let's look at how we prepare our food, because the cooking method can turn even a relatively healthy piece of meat into something that's not so good for us. especially as we age. The next type of meat to be mindful of after 65 is fried meats. Think about deep-fried chicken, fried fish fillets if they're coated and deep-fried, breaded and fried pork chops, or even shallow-fried schnitzel cooked in lots of oil. When meat is cooked at high temperatures, especially when submerged in hot oil, several things happen that can negatively impact our health. Firstly, it absorbs a lot of that cooking oil, which often means taking on board a significant amount of unhealthy trans fats or oxidized fats, depending on the type of oil used and how hot it gets. These fats are notorious for increasing bad cholesterol and decreasing good cholesterol, a double whammy for heart health. Remember that pipe analogy from earlier. Unhealthy fats contribute to clogging those pipes even faster. Secondly, high-temperature cooking methods like deep frying can lead to the formation of harmful compounds. One group is called advanced glycation end products, or AGE's fitting name, isn't it? These compounds form when proteins or fats react with sugars at high heat. AGEs can build up in our bodies over time, and higher levels are associated with increased inflammation, oxidative stress, and damage to tissues and organs. This chronic low-grade inflammation is implicated in many age-related diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, kidney problems, and even Alzheimer's. Frying meats is a prime way that significant amounts of AGEs are formed in our food. Think about how that crispy, golden brown crust forms on fried chicken. That browning reaction, called the Maillard reaction, creates some delicious flavors and textures, but it also produces these AGEs. For someone over 65, whose body may already be dealing with some level of inflammation or oxidative stress, adding a lot of AGEs through diet can be like pouring fuel on a fire. So, what's the alternative if you love crispy textures? Thankfully, there are healthier ways to achieve similar results. Baking or roasting can give you tender, cooked through meat. Pan-searing in a little healthy oil like olive oil or avocado oil can create a nice crust without submerging the meat in fat. Air frying has become very popular, and for good reason. It uses hot air circulation to create a crispy exterior, with only a fraction of the oil used in deep frying, drastically reducing fat intake and the formation of AGEs compared to traditional frying. Poaching, steaming, or stewing are also excellent methods that keep meat moist and flavorful without high heat. Instead of ordering fried fish and chips, try baking or grilling fish fillets. Swap out deep-fried chicken for baked chicken breast coated in herbs and breadcrumbs, or even just spices. If you're making pork chops, try searing them and then finishing them in the oven. It's about choosing cooking methods that are kinder to your body. These alternative techniques help you avoid those unhealthy fats and reduce the intake of those AGE compounds that can contribute to inflammation and disease as you age. It's a simple shift in preparation that can have a big impact on your long-term health and how you feel day to day. You can still enjoy delicious meat dishes. It's just about cooking them smarter. Okay, we've talked about processed meats, fatty red meats, and fried meats. There's one more category that might not be on your radar as much, but is equally important to consider as we get older: charred or burnt meats. You know that dark, sometimes black crust that forms on meat when it's grilled or broiled at very high temperatures, or when you accidentally leave something on the grill a little too long. While some people enjoy the smoky flavor, those burnt or heavily charred parts are where problematic compounds can form. When meat, poultry, or fish is cooked using high-temperature methods like grilling, broiling, or pan-frying, especially when cooked until well done or charred, two main types of potentially harmful compounds can be created: heterocyclic amines, HCAs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs. HCAs form directly on the surface of the meat when amino acids and creatine substances naturally found in muscle meat react at high temperatures. PAHs form when fat from the meat drips onto the heat source like charcoal or flames and causes smoke, which then rises and coats the surface of the meat. Now, this sounds a bit technical, But the simple takeaway is that exposure to high levels of HCAs and PAHs has been linked to an increased risk of certain cancers in animal studies, while the research in humans is complex and ongoing. Many health organizations advise reducing exposure to these compounds as a precautionary measure, especially considering cancer risk increases with age, as our cells accumulate damage over a lifetime. Reducing exposure to potential carcinogens becomes even more important. So, how can you still enjoy a grilled steak or a barbecue without the worry? It's entirely possible. The goal isn't to avoid grilling altogether, but to minimize the formation of these compounds. First, avoid direct exposure of meat to open flames or hot metal surfaces for prolonged periods. This means not cooking meat until it's blackened or heavily charred. Secondly, flipping meat frequently while grilling can reduce HCA formation. Marinating meat before grilling or broiling has also been shown to significantly reduce HCA formation. The marinade creates a barrier and contains antioxidants that can help prevent the reaction. Shorter cooking times help too. Consider partially cooking meat in a microwave or oven before finishing it on the grill. And importantly, trim any charred portions off your meat before eating it. If a piece gets accidentally burnt, just cut that bit away. Choosing leaner cuts of meat can also help reduce PAH formation, because there's less fat to drip onto the heat source. For instance, choosing chicken breast over thighs when grilling. Or a leaner steak. Using foil packets for grilling vegetables, or even smaller pieces of meat can also help, as it prevents direct exposure to the smoke and flames. So, you can still enjoy those wonderful smoky flavors and the social aspect of a barbecue. It just requires being a little more mindful about the cooking process and avoiding that heavy char. It's about cooking till done, not cooking till burnt. Taking these simple steps can make your favorite grilled meals much healthier as you move through your 60s, 70s, and beyond. So, we've gently explored 4 areas where rethinking our meat consumption after 65 might offer significant health benefits. We've talked about how things like the meats that come pre-packaged or cured, like bacon and deli slices, can hit us with high sodium and nitrates that aren't kind to our heart and may have other long-term risks. We looked at how the fattier cuts of red meat, while tasty, bring along saturated fats that can clog up our system over time and contribute to inflammation. We also discussed how we cook our meat matters, highlighting that frying can introduce unhealthy fats and those age compounds that accelerate wear and tear on our bodies, and that letting meat get heavily charred on the grill can create other concerning substances. Now, I know this might sound like a lot to take in, and perhaps a little daunting. Are you thinking, but I enjoy these foods, am I supposed to give them all up? Absolutely not. That's not the message at all. This isn't about perfection or deprivation. It's about awareness and empowerment. It's about understanding that as our bodies change with age, what was once easily handled might now be creating an unnecessary burden. It's about making small, sustainable shifts that support you in living your most vibrant, energetic life possible. Think of it not as taking things away, but as making room for more goodness. When you reduce your intake of processed meats, you make space for more whole grains, fruits, and vegetables at breakfast. When you choose leaner red meat, or have it less often, you might discover new ways to enjoy fish, poultry, or plant-based meals that offer different nutrients and benefits. When you swap frying for baking or air frying, you open up a world of crispy, delicious possibilities that are kinder to your heart and reduce inflammation. And when you're mindful about grilling, you're simply being a smart cook, protecting yourself while still enjoying the flavors you love. Every small step counts. Maybe this week, you decide to swap out your usual processed breakfast meat for eggs twice. Or perhaps you try using leftover roast chicken instead of deli slices in your sandwich just one day. Maybe you decide to try baking your fish instead of frying it next time. These aren't huge, overwhelming changes, but they are powerful acts of self-care. They add up over time to make a real difference in how you feel, in your energy levels, in your digestive comfort, in the aches you might feel, and most importantly, in your long-term health prospects. Feeling better as you age isn't about finding a magic pill or following a restrictive diet. It's about making informed, gentle choices that support your body. It's about listening to what your body needs now. At this stage of life, choosing to reduce your intake of these 4 types of meat is one simple, actionable way you can invest in your health and well-being. It's about freeing yourself from potential burdens and allowing your body to function more smoothly, with more energy and less discomfort. Imagine having more energy to play with grandchildren, more stamina for your hobbies, or simply feeling more comfortable and vibrant in your own skin. These are the real rewards of making healthier choices. I'd love to hear what you think. Are any of these types of meat regular features in your diet? Have you already made any changes? Share your thoughts or your favorite healthy meal swaps in the comments below. Your experience could be just the inspiration someone else needs. If you found this video helpful, if it gave you something to think about or inspired you to make a small change, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find this information so they can also benefit. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tips and gentle guidance on living your best, healthiest life at every age. We're on this journey together. Remember, you have the power to make choices every day that can positively impact your health and happiness. Small changes truly can make a big difference. Here's to feeling great, being active, and living your best life, today and for many wonderful years to come.